Hello, my name is James Piecowye, and you're listening to a Podaholiks podcast. This is Techtalk. Andrew Thomas, James Piecowye. Here we are.
That's it.
Video-wise,
yeah.
but we're also throwing this out on the internet. We're doing a podcast. And I gotta say, I'm looking at this video, and those of you who aren't watching this on YouTube, are you wearing a t-shirt? Am I seeing you in a t-shirt?
I am. I'm wearing a t-shirt. My iron decided to blow up. So I guess there's some things that tech just can't look after, right? It's I had a shirt, but obviously a shirt is, I think you can kind of get away with a crumpled t-shirt, but with a shirt. So what I'll do is the rest of my meetings for the rest of the day, I'll just do this. I'll do this angle. Like this one, so I'll just make sure that it's fine from that side of things. But sadly, technology doesn't allow us to heat up some rocks again, I guess, and iron. But anyway, it's Thanks for noticing. I'm currently getting blinded by your top. I mean, that's
isn't that phenomenal?
Kit.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah. I mean, I know we're being told to stay at home. So, I mean, thankfully, if you step outside the door, you're a beacon for anyone that wants to get you.
Oh, man. Andrew Thomas, digitalnexa.com. And, of course, I'm James Piecowye. This is our Tech Talk podcast. Although, we've thrown a few things up. We've been talking through WhatsApp a little bit. As the entire world is in social isolation, we're doing something that we haven't typically done, and we're communicating online and using other tools. So I'm really excited about this. Yeah,
I mean, I'd quite like to talk the tech part of obviously your role.
Yeah.
How tech has kind of helped you transition into that, and then I wouldn't mind having a chat on mine. I thought we could go through that and then kind of bounce through the stuff like we usually do. Yeah,
and the whole idea is right off the bat. How are you guys doing with the family? Yeah. You've got two young ones. You got your wife.
Yeah.
Everyone's. Yeah. How are you guys all faring? What's on the mind?
Good. I mean, I think that's good. I think it's they're all good. Kind of just doing the homeschooling bit and everything. Yeah. So that's I guess that's a bit of a challenge when you got younger kids. I think it's I don't know if it's any easier, but I think as they step into teens and that kind of thing. But saying that, I mean, obviously now GCSEs have been kind of pushed and all this kind of thing from an English curriculum perspective. So anyway, let's see. But all safe and sound. So just, I think, the challenge is obviously is you're used to going outside like everyone is, especially now. So you kind of almost have to flip it and pretend that it's July, because we never go out in July. So, it's not, it's not too difficult.
Yeah. I think for us, the big challenge is both of my boys are in Canada. Fortunately, so that's actually a bit of a stressor. Parents are there as well. And I personally thought, okay, how much stress is this actually going to cause? And I thought, hey, we can deal with this. We've got all sorts of technology. We're keeping in touch. And even though we're keeping in touch, even though we know what's going on, I've got to say, it's always in the back of my mind, how are my boys doing? Fortunately, in the case of both of them, they've got roommates and everyone's in that boat together. So that's kind of cool. But they're young boys. I mean, young men. They're not boys. They are boys, but they're young men. And in both cases, their work has been put on hold, which creates an enormous amount of stress. Is okay, hold on, you still got bills to pay, you still got food to buy.
Exactly.
And so it's opened up a whole bunch of other questions. But they're making their way through it pretty good, so we're pretty happy.
Yeah, well, I guess I mean in our lifetimes we haven't experienced any kind of global, I'd say global impact. I mean, you talk to grandparents obviously growing up, and they said, I had grandparents that were in the war. I had one grandparents in First World War, fought in the Second World War. Two grandparents fought in the Second World War. They were in London and they were getting bombed. They remember air raids as kids. I had one of my nans. Obviously got separated when they sent all the kids from London out to the country. So, you've got, I mean, that's really the last time there was, I'd say, a kind of global connection, and that's not, I'm not diminishing it but there's a global connection in the sense everyone's going through it.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, thankfully, I would say that here at least they've relaxed the laws on these kinds of communication. So, we've been allowed to kind of jump on Zoom, jump on Skype, jump on all these other kind of platforms enabling us to at least have a connection. Because I put a piece up yesterday on LinkedIn. I'd say that it is weird, even from a business perspective. I'm missing seeing people. I'm missing meeting people.
Yeah.
And I kind of put a thing up against that yesterday, that this is kind of the new norm now at the moment. And as long as you've got a video and you can see someone and you can talk and you can interact, you can kind of have the same kind of connection. It's just when, some people jump on audio. Yeah. And you're like, you find your mind wandering, going, what are they doing? Like, why can't they get on? Are they in their pajamas? Are they, what are they doing? Kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I find it's all the tactile side that, it's great that we can see each other, and it's great. I love that mug, by the way. You're rocking the mug. I'm rocking a juice. So
what's that? Beetroot juice or something?
This one today is baba ganoush, eggplant, zucchini, carrot, cucumber. A little bit of beetroot in there. I've thrown in some passion fruit today because passion fruit, I've got passion for podcasting. And nice. Is there any water added to it today? I don't think so. I think that's just all that came out. And it's, it's tasty. But I wanted to go at, because as we usually do these podcasts, and as you say, as you usually do meetings, there's that whole tactile side of it. And being able to share things by hand, and whether it's coming in and giving an elbow bump or a fist bump, or when we used to shake hands and things, and just having people walking by. We used to do this over at the Rove. We hopefully will end up back at the Rove eventually in some time. But there was that whole piece of it that was kind of fun and kind of a part of the activity that we don't have right now. And it's in some cases. So, for us, this works really well. Most people typically listen to the show. They're not watching it, although we'll post it up on YouTube as well. I wanted to jump into my side with how we're doing things at the university. So my day job, my bread and butter is I'm an associate professor at Zide University in the College of Communication and Media Sciences. 20 years this year at the institution. So I know my students, I've now got cousins of students who are coming that were, cool. And I've got students now who, I knew my big sister or my, graduated, or one of the ladies who works with us was one of my students back in 2001. And, now she's got like 6 kids, right? And it's like, man. But we've gone instantly into an e-learning environment, which it's I got to say, it's a challenge. And the technology's not the challenge, because we've been using Blackboard for years. So all of our course materials, the way people submit things, the way you distribute things, it's all electronic already. So that's easy enough. And you can produce and prepare your, I use Adobe Sparks. You could be using PowerPoints, Keynotes, etc. You'll just all load them in. So getting the information to students, not a problem. We're now using Adobe iConnect, which the university has been using for graduate school consultations and things like that. So a lot of folks have had use of iConnect. I haven't been using iConnect. And so suddenly, like probably I would say 90% of the faculty at the university, we've jumped into using this Adobe product, which I gotta say is pretty good. I've been really happy with it. You can, like so many things, you can share your screen, you can create breakout groups. It's got the video going. I can activate audio so everyone can participate if we want to, which is a challenge, as you know, with multiple people in a meeting. But it's changed the way we fundamentally teach. And I think, in one sense, it requires a little bit more effort on the part of students to engage with those materials. And on the other hand, I think it opens up for us. And I was talking with Richard Kaywood, one of my colleagues in the college yesterday, and we were talking about this, saying, this is actually opening up an extraordinary opportunity for us as educators, because we can still have the at home, the mix, the brick and mortar teaching situation where you come to a class, which I think for 50% of students, 60%, maybe 75% is great. You like it. 25% of students in our case, and so again, I'm at the Dubai campus. So my catchment is Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Al Quwain, maybe Fujairah. I don't think I have any students coming from Fujairah, but I've got students coming from Hatta and in between Hatta. So all of these other catchment areas where I've got students driving 2.5 hours a day when we were in full steam each way. Can you imagine? So that's 5 hours a day.
That's
So I'm looking at this going, all right, we're not only have we implemented, but we're rolling it out, and we're beta testing this whole thing. Maybe it's really an alpha test, but we're making it work. And I think when it's all over, the possibility, I mean, I kind of looked at this and I said, okay, so how would I continue to work this kind of phenomenon, or this kind of process of delivery? And I said, okay, what have we got? And I'm thinking, I live in Murdiff. We've got Uptown Murdiff. We've got all sorts of malls that are, trying to figure out when they're open, how to use their space effectively with different franchises moving in, moving out, and space being used differently. What if we were to create in a mall a dedicated learning closet, portal, room, place, store, where my students who could be at home on the computer could, if they're in RAC, they go to this place. They go to the Zayed University place in RAC, high-speed internet connection, a few tutors there who might be able to help with things, and they connect with the class that way. And I'm thinking, man, suddenly we can really expand what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's going to fundamentally change the way that we do business and education, from this point onward, because I think the thing is, people are starting to realize that, yes, that tactile, that meeting, that environment is important. Yeah. But actually, is it fully necessary in some cases? Probably not. It's more of a vanity, right? Yeah. Or a nice to have. Yeah. How are you handling? So I guess that's from the student side of things. What about faculty life? Are you having a morning kind of Zoom? Are you jumping on individually? How are you handling the kind of faculty situation, sharing ideas? Yeah. How are you doing that?
So for us, I think we're still in a developmental stage, and we're still working through that. So at this point, what we've really been concentrating on is keeping our classes active and working. We've really been old school. We've had a few emails back and forth, and people have been sharing, and people have been linking in, and smaller groups of faculty have been connecting and sharing. But we haven't had that larger Zoom meeting, or I think at ZU we use WebEx. We haven't been we haven't really engaged that part of the equation yet. And I think that's an important part of the equation that we will start engaging, because I think what's really missing for many of us at this point are those conversations with your faculty members, are the people, like we have office hours, right? And a typical, we've all been to academic institutions where there's office hours. How many students actually come to the office hours? Near the end, lots. Most of the time, one or two. You've got three hours of office hours a day or so. So who's visiting in the office hours? Well, that's when the other faculty are coming in. They're talking about research. They're talking about ideas. So we need to. That's the area that we're still rolling out and figuring out. Okay, how do we do this, and how do we make this work? And I think and I've heard this now from a lot of different teachers, the challenge is not only for us in post-secondary education, but also in primary and middle school and secondary schools, is the time allotments. And it changes. For us, it hasn't really changed anything. So I might have a 9:30 class. I go for an hour. I present some material. Let's get some questions. Okay, get on with what you're doing. If you have a question, here's my office hours. Here, send me an email. We'll connect. 90% of them don't need to, so it works out well. Right. But when we pivot this whole thing towards that grade 5 teacher, who at this point is essentially doing is a homeschooling coach. They would have the students in the class from 7:45, 8 in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They had the students working through that big, set of curricula that I know a lot of parents would say, what do the teachers do anyway? They've got 26 of these kids. I think a lot of parents are getting a little bit of a wake up, because they're saying, wow, this is only one kid, my kid, who I'm working through this stuff. And it's pretty hard. So it's not that it's helping the student to grasp the information, helping it to resonate, and then helping them to apply it. With one, it's hard. Imagine with 26. So I think there's new appreciation. But the challenge that I'm hearing from a lot of teachers is now the time period has gotten so much longer. So they're available, they're helping parents, they're sending out work, but where they used to finish work at 2-3 o'clock, spend an hour or so grading, do some work, get things ready for the next day. 4 or 5 o'clock, they're done, they head home, and then get ready to do it all again. Now they're 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, still working, and then jumping back in. And then there's the second group of educators who have children who are also students. So not only are they running the 26 or 28 that they had in their own class, now they're helping to educate their own kids, and that could be a nightmare. I mean, and then you've got the third, in that second group of people, you've got the third scenario where you've got people's jobs that are being put on hold, and you're thinking, okay, so where are we going with all this? And then just the general, we don't know, right? We know that things are ramping down for a couple of weeks for sure. Is it going to be longer? I mean, it's interesting when you look at different places. So when I talk about schooling again, I know we're ramping things down, and the hope is, sometime mid-April, May, whatever, we'll ramp things up. When I look at what they're doing in places like Quebec, Canada, they've basically said, look, you know what? May at the earliest, I don't think we're coming back. And Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan's already said, you know what? The grades you're at are the grade. We're going to give everyone a passing grade, 50%. If you want to engage with your teachers to up your grade, great. If you don't, you got 50% at this point. And
I think the challenge here is that there's a lot of private education. So
it's a huge challenge.
They can't make sweeping. They can for public schools, but back home, that's what I can say. Listen, no GCSEs, no A levels. That's it. Thanks very much. Just kind of we're done, because it's a lot of it is state run. So that's one of the challenges I have here. I mean, the reason I asked about the kind of faculty side of things is because I think in some of these situations it can be a bit isolating.
I think it's hugely isolating for us, Andrew. I think that's a big thing that people are starting to see.
Even if you potentially did your own Zoom, once a week, where you said, hey guys, our guy in New York did something really cool last night. He did a coffee morning.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And he literally just said, listen guys, gonna grab a coffee, let's grab a coffee, let's have a chat, let's catch up. And had the whole 20 whatever people, 25, I'll have to check with him how many he had, but 20, 25 people just literally on the screen, then did a smaller one, a little circle chat, just to kind of bounce some things off each other. I mean, what we've done is we've tried to keep that. Well, we haven't tried, we had. So the first morning from home, everyone's working from home, right? Yeah. So that first morning, we had, the whole team, 50 plus people on a Zoom call. Everyone got their camera on, everyone kind of ready to go. We want to see faces, we want to see, that kind of stuff. And what we've done is we've kept that daily routine up.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So checking in with the teams every day on Zoom, how you doing, how's things, because I think the thing is there's a couple of different things here. One is a lot of people are just not used to home learning and home work. Or
exactly.
Right? Working from home.
We talk about it.
Yeah.
We talk about it, but as you said, it totally changes the way you do things, and the distraction is enormous.
Yeah, I'd say as well that we're almost here as well, and probably, I was thinking about this because, look, in most other places, video calling is not banned, okay? Yeah. And everyone I know in the UK, friends, family, everyone I know in the US, video calls people and has been video calling people for the last 5 years, right? FaceTime, whatever. So even here, we're not used to this so much.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that even that in itself is a challenge. So I almost think the tech component or tech piece is relatively straightforward. It's the other kind of human interaction, how you use the tech, how you leverage the tech. I mean, I've been surprised how, my screen time usage has changed dramatically. So now I'd say a majority of my screen time goes into Twitter and LinkedIn. And I've done Twitter because I'm following here Ministry of Health, Ministry of National Crisis and Emergency, Dubai Health Authority, Ministry of Interior, Dubai Police, right?
Yeah.
And then NHS back home, WHO, CDC. But I've been able to turn on those notifications. Yeah. So even from an information overload perspective, right? I've used tech to help me navigate that. So I'm not on, Facebook, Instagram, all these kinds of things, because it's just too much.
Well, and I think that's an important point that you bring up, and I think people are slowly starting to realize that you've got to put limits on the amount of information you're consuming, and think of that quality information, and set your times to log in, whether you look in the morning, you look in the afternoon, and not spend all day getting caught up in it, because it becomes overwhelming, all-consuming, and starts to cause enormous amounts of mental strain.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and I think that the important thing is the authority piece. I mean, I wrote on, I think, LinkedIn 10 days ago, these are the people that I follow.
Yeah.
They're authoritative. They're the government. And I'm not, I haven't got my silver foil hat on or whatever, so I believe them. Yeah. That they're giving out good advice. So yeah, I think the thing is that, changing kind of apps and text and stuff like that is interesting, because before, something like Google News was my go-to. In the morning, I'd open up Google News, and now I'm like, no, I can't. It's I think it's kind of, but I think what's cool is it has got people thinking differently. I attended a virtual conference already. There's a big virtual conference, actually. I'll send you a link to a massive virtual conference that you need to go to in April, which is fantastic. A few webinars that kind of people are putting up. We're putting a webinar on. So I think the thing is that the space is changing a bit. I'll be honest. I mean, we've kind of, from a business perspective, what's interesting is it's taken a few kind of, days to adjust to presenting to someone, talking to someone. I mean, obviously on this Zoom platform, what you have, and I'll do it now because it will be on the video as well, is we have the ability to share. So I can share, for example, the desktop. Right. So now the desktop's here, and I've got, Apple, Apple open on our little thing. You can see that, right? Yeah. Which is pretty cool. I can also do something called the whiteboard. Okay. So I can literally just open up a whiteboard here. Then you can put your notes in. Yeah. Very nice. Which is pretty cool. So you can put your notes in here, or you can kind of do stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But the other cool stuff is on Zoom, you can share iPad, iPhone. You can connect an iPhone to it. Okay. And you can also share individual screens if you want to. Oh, nice. So and then there's another cool functionality. I don't think it'll work because I've got a TV behind me, but some of the fun stuff is this. Oh, okay, sure. Kind of like you put a background. Nice. Yeah, like a green screen. Yeah. Which is pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah. So here's my question. As people are thinking of jumping on, I mean, there's so many different ways you can do this. If I want to jump on Zoom as a consumer, you've been talking about your colleagues in the States who have got multiple screens. As a consumer, can I open up multiple screens, or do I have to? You can. So the free version of Zoom is limited by time. Okay. So you can have multiple people on the call, 4, 5, 6 people, and limit it to 40 minutes. So it might be something you could do for your faculty this week. Coffee with James. So I can do unlimited 40-minute calls, though, which is perfect because no one wants to hear 100%. Me for longer than 40 minutes. I would. I've been listening to you for Christ, how many years before I even knew you? I was listening to you on the radio, right? So hey, shout out to Kelly Jones, by the way, who will be tuning in. Yeah. He's living zombie. What? No, hold on. We should do a podcast with Kelly. Yes. Okay. 100%. Yeah. So I'll message him because we've been talking about him for like God knows how long. Yes. So I think I'll message him today and we'll jump on a podcast. I think that'd be fantastic. That'd be cool. Podaholiks with a K, by the way, if people are wondering where they can hear our podcast, Podaholiks with a K. Webpage coming soon, right? It's up. The webpage is up. The website should be up in the next couple of days. Yeah, so the site's up, coming soon, logo on there, but we've got that up. So we've just got to pull in all the episodes. But I think we've got at this point about sorry to interrupt, and this is the challenge. This is the challenge with doing that. 124 episodes in the can. From tech to DIY to doc talk to car clinic, and more. The nice thing is, and we're going to do a group one later, right? Yeah, we're going to do that today. Get everyone on board. It's going to be difficult because we're going to see each other, but it's so easy to talk over each other. Man, it's hard. Yeah, but Zoom is pretty good at kind of deciphering that. So the other thing I was going to say about Zoom is the integration of different things. So Zoom is fully integrated with my HubSpot and also my calendar. So for example, now all I need to do, and you can do this with your Google Calendar, all you need to do is you go into Google Calendar and create a new meeting, coffee morning, and you just add, right? And it says conference, and you can add so Hangouts works as well now.
They've
opened up Hangouts, so you can even do Hangouts. But if you click on connectivity, Zoom, connect your Zoom account to calendar, and then you're done. And then literally that goes in their calendar. They click on it. They don't have to put any passwords. There's no
nice.
You're away, So I'm finding Zoom is the best one for us at the moment. But quite frankly, we were using Zoom anyway beforehand. Yeah. So we were using Zoom for the last 6 months.
So who's behind Zoom? Zoom is?
I don't know. I'm not sure. They've just kind of exploded. They really. I mean, they took off anyway, but. So we were using them just because it's so easy, the way they've integrated with so many different platforms. But look, also, so what I have started doing now as well is because I'm not meeting people, I'm sending them video emails.
Yeah, that's cool. And you're doing this through Zoom?
No, this through something called Vidyard. So Vidyard integrates into HubSpot, integrates into Gmail. And again, what we do is basically you record a video. So we're doing a daily video for the guys in the office. Hey guys, looking forward to da. I'm sending now follow-up videos, so 30 seconds. Hey guys, how's it going? Do you want me to send you a proposal? Do you want that? Because I think again, I'm trying to keep that connection with people, right? From that side of things, and I'm throwing out the fact, like you said, that someone may not want to see me or hear me, but I think it's just it's funny, I kind of this is talking about video, but in times like this you realize how important some of these things are. So I think the tech at the moment is cool. The only thing I said that I'm missing at the moment is, and that's when the whiteboard came up, so you can see the white paper behind me. Like that's tough. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? To do this is tough. And I said to Amit the other day, I was just like, look, I think, I might get one of those old school mouse pad with a pencil. Yeah. And connect that to Zoom so you can draw on a whiteboard.
What a great idea.
So
I got one of those old school. I got one of those sitting here right now. I got to get in on that.
I'm trying. Right, exactly right. So then you can kind of draw and you can take notes, and then students possibly or other people could. Because I'm quite. That's the challenge. Like if I'm doing like drawing a flywheel with customers in the middle, and then sales and marketing, or I'm drawing a sales funnel, or I'm trying to show people, okay, this is your website, it's connected to social here. That's challenging because basically that just looks like I'm at a rave, dancing at that point, right? So that was the challenge the other day. I found, so I need that pencil because with the trackpad in your finger, it's not intuitive enough, to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I find that sharing some of these things out there is cool. Trying to do that is fun as well, Yeah. So it's just I don't know. I mean, it's.
I think we're learning as we're going, right? And I think the big challenge is just trying this stuff and giving it a go. And if it works, it's really application of innovative tools. We've got all these innovative tools. Like you said, Zoom's been out for a while. These old track pads and these sketch pads, what do we call them? Plotters. They've been out.
Plotters, right? That's right.
We've had them for a long time. And now it's like, okay, hold on a second. This is old tech. I can now apply this to what I'm doing. And I think that's where this all becomes really interesting. And how do you do things? I mean, I'm actually totally, as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm going to set up a meeting with my colleagues at work, send them a link and say, hey, do you want to join? Great. And if let's do that and see if anyone joins in. And if not, it's okay. I can spend 20 minutes sitting here doing other work, but I'd love to just see what people are doing.
It's just nice. I mean, trying to keep that connection going, I think it's important. And I think it's going to become more important as the social distancing really kicks in. Yeah. Right? Because essentially now, I mean, I'll tell you, I know someone, good friend of mine, who had so two things happened this week. Last week, one, he had a virtual poker game. Okay. So his buddies, I think there was 9 of them, set up a Zoom call. Yeah. They're in their house drinking beer, and they're on an online poker thing, Texas Hold'em, similar to Zoom.
Yeah.
And you had one dealer, and they did it. They loved it so much that they might do it when the social distance is finishing.
Right.
So they were saying there's no handling cards or whatever. And then a group of guys last Thursday in the office did their quiz.
Well, and
they do a quiz master.
Well, they did the quiz. Catboy did his whole quiz virtually as well. I mean, I just saw something he said. Okay. It was phenomenal. You know, him and his wife run this quiz every week, and they did it from home. And they thought, okay, well, let's try it virtually, and great success by all accounts.
Nice. That's good. It's cool. So I think the thing is that people are just adapting and learning, and thankfully we have the tech to enable that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, I mean, I think that's the key thing. We do have the tech, thankfully Etisalat and Do have managed to keep the connectivity going, even though the strain must be phenomenal. As far as that,
when we had a small iConnect go down yesterday with one of my classes, and it was interesting because I'm scrambling because I didn't, silly me, didn't write down the contact number for the tech guy, so I'm scrambling to find this, and that's when you jumped in. I trying to multitask, went on Insta Live to connect with my students, and then at the same time I'm firing emails and talking back and forth with tech to see if they knew it. And at first it was interesting because they didn't realize there was an issue. So when I first got on, I said, guys, hey, I can't get into the room. And they, the standard, they were excellent because they were troubleshooting through, and they thought it was just me. And then by about 20 minutes in, they realized, we've got an issue here because it's not just one person who's got a problem. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. But what became interesting was thinking about, as you said, the bandwidth that is needed to make all of this stuff work. And that's a huge issue that I got to say, I saw some material come out from Etisalat say that they've bumped up everyone. They've bumped up everyone's bandwidth so that they can do that. And this was my concern when we first started talking about going electronic like this. I think the limitation is just people's home routers and people's, the pipe coming into your home. But if Etisalat do follow suit and they bump everyone up to, I think it was a phenomenal number that people were getting. Just, hey, this is what you need to be able to have multiple machines online.
I guess this is the challenge as well from the business perspective now for doing Etisalat. I mean, they've opened the floodgates now. Yeah. So they've opened the floodgates to this, right? Boy, it's going to be real difficult for them to pull that back now. Yeah. Because, the fact is that some people, I mean, I spoke to a woman yesterday, she's 3 weeks in working from home.
Wow.
Because her global company kind of took the very early decision to kind of stop, I mean, I think, again, from a business perspective, they've basically left the decision up to us at the moment as business owners. They've kind of said, listen, we appreciate and understand business can't stop, if you're a restaurant and they say close your doors, you can't do anything about it. But a lot of our activity is online, right?
Right.
So even that is the fact that it's eyeballs. People are kind of like now spending more time online, researching your company online. And for the people that haven't focused their energies and efforts online, they're now scrambling as well.
Yeah.
So even, companies that had revenue streams, dedicated to it, and then you've got competitiveness as well. So now people are trying to pivot. So if you've got online learning space, for example, everyone's trying to get into the online learning space now.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So all of these guys that didn't really have much competition are now getting flooded with new stuff. So I mean, it's an interesting time.
How have your clients generally? How's the pivoting going with your clients? What are some of the challenges? I mean, you've outlined them basically, but what are some of the challenges they face as they try to rethink how they're doing their engagement and how they're pushing for leads in?
I mean, I think some obviously, so we've got a client, German client that do to kitchen manufacturers, and they're one of the only factories open in Germany still. So the messaging around them is, listen guys, we're working with the government, we're making sure that your orders are still getting delivered, so the messaging from them is pretty much business as usual, or as usual as it can be. But they're using the social platforms and the web to get that message out, right? And I think the fact is that if you look at search trends, so we've been tracking search trends, and search trends, have obviously, some have gone down, some have gone up. But, I think the thing is that what you're going to start to see is people now buying from home more.
Right.
So this may...
Well, this is a phenomenal thing, isn't it? When you're not looking here, but also looking at North America and Europe, the number of companies that are now hiring because they need pickers, they need boxers, they need deliverers.
Bezos has hired another 1,000 full-time employees or something. Bezos talking like I know him.
Yeah, you guys on first name basis there?
That's it, yeah, totally. Last name, like you and me, Piecowye. Yeah, you're even Piecowye on my phone. But the interesting, I think the thing is that if you look at it even globally or even kind of here, the fact is that people are going to start. So we've got e-commerce clients where their sales have gone up. Yeah. Like trainers and apparel and stuff. People are they're buying from home. And what was interesting is, I don't know if you saw here locally that Noon struck an agreement with Dubai Mall literally for 3 days ago to say, okay, every single outlet in Dubai Mall has a space on Noon, a virtual store, for nothing. Right, it's yours. So they brokered a deal. I mean, to be fair, it's same owner, but they brokered a deal. So I think what you're going to see is, again, fundamental changes in the way that we shop, in the way that we communicate. Obviously, hopefully, we kind of squashed the peak, which they're talking about, and we start to go out more. Similar, we're getting good messages in from. So we're part of a global agency alliance that's in China and Korea, and they're going back to work. So they're kind of, we're starting to see that. But I think the thing is that people that have never bought online before are going to go, this is crazy. Why would I go to the mall? Yeah. I mean, I've got a good friend of mine who totally kitted out his home office. Yeah, there you go. He's like, no, I need a big screen and I need a separate keyboard and I need, got it all home delivered. Boom. Yeah. Right. So there's good friends of mine who have, put their gyms at home. Yeah. So they're all online buying. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Ah, okay. No, I think because we were talking about high-speed connectivity, you've kind of jumped off. I don't know. Yeah, it's yours is kind of freezing and stuff, dude. Interesting. So I see you well now. I see everything coming from your side well. Who knows? Who knows what's going on there? Maybe more people in the neighborhood. Let's stop video. Okay. This is Techtalk, and we're talking about we're talking about the world around us. And you're back. Perfect. This is again that challenge, right? But we're going to get back to the online shopping. But again, as more people in a neighborhood, I'm looking at what time it is. It's about 11:30. I think let's turn off the video, dude. Okay. Because I think it's your end. He's gonna. You know what? We're gonna wrap up this podcast, and we're gonna restart. You've been listening to Techtalk right here on Podaholiks with Andrew Thomas from digitalnext.com, James Piecowye, and let's see if he's back. Are you back there, sir? Yeah, I'm back now. So I'll leave the video off. Yeah. And then, I mean, we've been chatting away here for nearly 40 minutes, so perhaps we could pinch it anyway. Yeah. It's telling us something. Yeah, I think they're saying, hey, you guys have been talking too long. But I want to jump, before we do that, man, did you get that all over your screen? You need to wash your hands. No, it's right in my shoulder, as we're supposed to. One of the things I've been thinking about a lot with the e-shopping, and as you're talking about, is I'm a firm and fond participant in heading over to the fruit and veg market and handpicking all my fruit and veg from the different vendors there. And I'm looking at anything, dude. All right, I'm gonna let this go, and we'll talk about it soon. All right, I've lost Andrew Thomas. No, he's gone. You know what? We're gonna wrap this Tech Talk show. We're going to get back to you. The power of technology, the power of things going on. You've been listening to Tech Talk with Andrew Thomas and James Pike. If you heard me say that a whole bunch of time, Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com. We're going to do it all again real soon. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for participating. And if you want to find out more, hit us up on the socials, Podaholiks with a K. And like I said, email us, Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com. Website will be up shortly. It's been a blast. My name's James Piecowye. Keep safe.